Purpose Earth podcast episode. I'm your legendary host, Darryl Wingfield. Back at it with another one. In today's podcast, we're gonna be talking about the importance of writing things down and writing things down with a sense of purpose, writing things down with a vision, writing things down through setting goals. The reason why I want to bring this up is recently of what I did within literally last week. This all started last week. Last week I put together a document of everything that I wrote down in a form of a journal entry since 2015. So from 2015 all the way up until now, 2023, last time I wrote something to myself was, I believe, in October. I believe this was around 2 weeks ago. This came from a really, really deep part of myself. I didn't recognize what I was doing way back then. And I believe that through me telling y'all my experience of writing things down, that should hopefully, I guess, help y'all or encourage y'all to start writing down y'all dreams and aspirations, because you never know what it can turn into. And I'm going to highlight exactly what I've noticed and what came to me and why I did what I did. So I want to start this all the way back in 2015. Back in 2015, I talked about on this podcast, a previous podcast way back when, about the circumstances that I got myself into, which led me to start focusing on myself, with me getting in all different types of trouble. And specifically, I wrote a letter to myself in December of 2015, and I'm going to read to y'all exactly what I wrote to myself. And I did not know what I was doing at the time. And the reason why I did this is because I was at a personal rock bottom. I didn't know what else to do. I was self-loathing OD. And I was feeling hella fucking sorry for myself. Straight up. Did I show this to people? No. But that's how I was feeling on the inside. But going back to this raunchy, it's a blue notebook for those of you that's listening, that I'm holding up. And this is a notebook that I had in college, but it wasn't used for college. It turned into my dreams and aspirations notebook. But this was what I wrote to myself. It says, "Dear Darryl, when times get rough, don't give up on yourself. You're very smart and a lot of people are depending on you. Stay humble through this process and you will get what you ask for. God loves you and so many other people do too. Pray, believe, and stay persistent, and the road shall get more smoother as you go down it. You are a special person no matter who doubts you. Love, Darryl." And I put my signature to this. I might make this the thumbnail. And at the time, I was trying to do anything to give myself some sort of hope. If you guys haven't, really drank alcohol like that, or went like on a smoking binge, where you're just like high as hell all day, every day, and then after that you take a little break. You feel all types of crazy when you're starting to like sober up and when you're coming down. And it low-key brings out the real shittiness in you. You start to feel really bad about yourself. And then after that, it will make you resort back to, going back to those vices to pick yourself back up so you don't have to feel like that again. And I was one of those people that was stuck in that kind of cycle. I didn't I didn't know that there was a way out. And I desperately wanted a way out. I wanted a way out of that lifestyle that I was living. Um, and I seen myself as a train wreck. And at this point, I'm starting to open up more and more about this. When I first started doing these episodes, I was reluctant to talk about this stuff. I'm still kind of reluctant to talk about this stuff because it's super personal. And I didn't know within the next 8 years that I was going to be the person that I am right now that's speaking to you, and you know, you guys listening and watching me right now. I didn't know that I was going to be this person. I desperately wanted to be this person. And what I noticed throughout the years of writing things down, and it started off as affirmations, like around December of this time, I was writing down things like, I'm an NBA player. I'm a college athlete. I am a Christian. I am a student athlete. I am a millionaire. All of these things, I constantly would write it down. And then after that, I also started writing down 7 things that I can do to contribute to these things. And I wrote them out in advance for like, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks. And for those specific days, it could be doing push-ups, doing sit-ups, read the Bible for an hour, play basketball, work, and I would check these things off if I got through them. And my goal every day was to have every single thing checked off. If you look at it, only like half of that stuff was like checked off every day. You know, like I said, I was still in this loop. I was still in this cycle where I couldn't get out of. God honest truth, I couldn't get out of. And throughout the years, I discovered something very, very, very interesting within myself. And we all have this within ourselves. And it starts with an inner dialogue. I realized that I had a greater personality. The greater personality that wanted me so badly to be the best version of myself. And the ego part of myself that related to the things on the outside world that shrunk me to that greater personality, things didn't match to what that greater personality was and what that greater personality required of me and what that greater personality was trying to get me to do. I was resistant to it. I wasn't trying to listen to it, but at the same time, I wanted it so bad. And the game of basketball helped me listen to this greater personality and help develop that greater personality, maturate within myself till I can display that greater personality to the outside world. It just wasn't a figment of my imagination. It wasn't stuck in the ideal. It wasn't stuck in a vision in my imagination that I see myself as. This stuff is subtle and it's very deep. So the things that I talk to you guys about, for the most part, it came from my personal experience and what I've been through. And back in 2015, I was burning a lot of ships and I was burning a lot of bridges. I was inconsiderate of other people, and I really just wanted to get what I want, and that's it, without making sure that it was a mutual thing. In most relationships that I held, it was more so literally every step of the way, what can I take? If the next generation can be more receptive to a message like this, the better off we are as a whole, as a society, as a culture, as a human race. The greater personality was trying to show me this. And this greater personality in the spiritual sense, I don't know where you guys are in y'all walk of life, whether it's, religious or anything, but with the higher power, with God, the creator. I've been avoiding so hard talking like this because And it's unfair to you guys as an audience because it feels as though sometimes I talk over people's heads, and when I talk to people in my day-to-day life, I realize that oftentimes that's a problem. That I do that a lot, unintentionally. I thank y'all for even listening to me for as long as y'all have. Yet again, I'm giving a shout out to everybody that's always listening, in Germany especially. I see you guys out there. I I really appreciate y'all so much. Everybody that downloads the podcast consistently, you know what I mean? Seeing the downloads as soon as I upload it and wake up and it's like, wow, people are listening to me. The greater personality, it pushed me to do all of these things that I'm doing, sometimes against my will. Sometimes, even to this day, I still doubt myself in all of these regards, but I learned how to shut that up and listen to this greater personality. And I was told last week by the greater personality, which is connected to God, to put together the notes and the journal entries from the last 8 years, which was a tall task. It was high-key pretty daunting. I write so much down. It's ridiculous. And this document is 40 pages long. And I still got some stuff that I'm going to add to it. I'm going to add my dreams to it. I'm going to add some of my personal thoughts that I put in my phone that was separate from the things that I wrote down with my physical hand. And keep building this thing, because it's telling the story of a story that I've been telling myself. How paradoxical does that sound? What did he just say? But yeah, it's a story that I've been telling myself. What story have I been telling myself? I have not yet to read through this thoroughly. And it was difficult and demanding to put this in a chronological order, because I got 3 separate notebooks and journals where I had to flip through and I write in the 3 at different points. One of them got filled up already in this blue notebook that I showed you guys, and the guys that's listening to hear about. It's almost full to every single page, but not quite yet, which means I still got some entries to go. The greater personality that's been telling me to do this has been showing me the power that I actually have and the impact that I actually can have. And some of the things that, the affirmations from 2015 that I wrote down, I didn't really have faith that I was going to go to the NBA. I didn't really have faith that I was going to play overseas. I didn't have faith that I was going to be a millionaire. Some of these things still hasn't happened yet, and some of them actually did happen. Some of these things I actually lived. For example, being an overseas basketball player, that's one of those things where I actually lived. But at that point in time, I lacked the experience, and it's like, how do I actually do that? What can I actually do to contribute to these affirmations? And you just can't leave things to writing. You just can't leave things to your imagination and hope that the universe just somehow cook up a mastermind plan where everything falls in a line and things go how you want it to go. Because you believe so hard. Oh my God, it's supposed to be like this. No, don't just think positive. Be happy. That's not realistic. That's not what comes with life. Life comes with so many different challenges, and you have to start somewhere. And all of our somewheres is different. Every last one of us. But we have to start. We have to make that first step. For some of us, we don't know what that first step is going to be. And if you don't know what that first step is actually going to be, then write something down. Start writing to yourself. Start writing to yourself with future expectations, and put yourself in a state of mind like it's already said and done. And you will be surprised of where the direction of your heart starts to lead you to once you give it a destination. And this is where the trouble comes into play for most of us. The desires of our hearts lead to falsehoods. They lead to disappointments because it's not the right thing for us. And if you constantly listen to this greater personality that we all have, then you will start to see and understand that. And the less you resist to the greater personality, the better your chances of the things that you write down is going to be accomplished. The more you start thinking from a place of the person that's separate from the ideal self that you wrote down with the affirmations and journal entries, you're going to keep longing and longing to be that person. And it will never, ever, ever come. At some point, the things that you write down has to be lived. Everything is a process. Every single thing is a process. By the time you guys listen to this or watching this, the process is ultimately over for even making this podcast and using this as a context. I had to set up a camera. I had to set up a microphone. I had to set up the computer to record all of this stuff. And then after the fact, I got to take the file from GarageBand and take these clips and put it together. Do some cuts, do some edits, and then throw it out there in a way that it's receptive for you guys. That's a process. This stuff just don't land, and at some point 70 plus episodes ago, I didn't know what I was doing, but I really, really wanted to do this, even though I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to set up a podcast episode because I never set up a podcast episode. I never set up a podcast in general. I did not know. Honestly, I knew what I was going to be talking about, but I was nervous. And I talked about this in the past on waiting on the podcast equipment to come in. And while I was waiting, I started to get a little discouraged about oh man, what am I doing? Daryl, what are you doing? But I ended up doing it anyway. Even the first couple of ones that I recorded, it's literally felt as though I was talking to myself and nobody was listening to me, which was kind of discouraging as well. But I kept going. That's the only reason why I got this far. From that standpoint of being that kid of 2015 that just caught a possession charge. And I got all of these literally wild ass habits that I can't control, and I gotta control. You know what I mean? You don't want to piss in a cup in the PO's office, and it's dirty. You're done. Go do the time. But even during that, I still was wilding. Even during the time of my probation, like I said, I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to stop for years. I didn't get in trouble and just out of nowhere just go cold turkey and just turn a new leaf. Nah, I was super addicted to what I was doing. I low-key enjoyed what I was doing. And what I was doing gave me an escape from what I was telling you guys, them feelings of, coming down and sobering up. When you start to really, really come to grips with reality and the situation that you're in. I couldn't handle that shit with a sober mind. And once I peaked out, I didn't have to think about it no more. And oftentimes, once I peaked out, the things that was in front of me was a super distraction for me facing the real of the situations that I was constantly placing myself in and deliberately sabotaging myself. I was self-sabotaging myself. And throughout the years of me writing, I realized that I needed to acquire self-mastery. This is fast forward 4 years at this point of now these journal entries are starting to turn into something where I'm I'm listening to this greater personality. I'm realizing that it's a challenge in itself, and just because I'm listening, it don't mean that the road, gets cleared out. It's a path that's unbeaten if you listen to yourself unapologetically. And you have people out there that's going to guide you in the best way that they personally know how, but take everybody's advice, including my own, with a grain of salt and see for yourself. And I hope through you guys listening to this that you guys like write stuff down as the grain of salt, and you start to see that for yourself, and it turns into a whole you turn into a whole different beast yourself. If you're struggling with accomplishing goals, if you're struggling with reaching your aspirations, if you're struggling with reaching your dreams, don't settle. Shout out to my boy Michael, man, and Blaze Training. Never settle. Never settle. Powerful message. And at one point, when he was on this podcast, if you guys go back, you can hear his journey. Many people that I had on this podcast, and many people that and you guys listening, y'all know what that journey is like. You once didn't have the skills that you have, and going back to something that we all simply can relate to is walking. At some point, we didn't know how to walk, and walking turned into a skill. At some point, we didn't know how to read, and reading turned into a skill. Even writing, what I'm talking about, at some point, you didn't know how to write, and writing turned into a skill. I remember, y'all remember, we all remember back in grade school when the alphabets was dotted out, and we had to trace it. We had to sit there and trace the alphabet A through Z in them big space lines. That was the starting point for us writing. And then progressively, it got more and more complex. Something that I talk about with basketball, how I learned and got really, really, really good at the game of basketball is treating it like ABCs. Break everything down to its most fundamental level, which it is the alphabet, and you start to build from there to the point where you can build the word. And for me, that's what I did with basketball. So, alphabet for me with basketball, for those of you that aren't familiar with sports and basketball in general, the fundamentals: dribbling and shooting. Why do I even say it like that? Dribbling and shooting. Working on my left hand, working on my right hand, working on the 4 different basketball dribble moves: the in and out, the crossover, the behind the back, through the legs, and working on that on all 5 spots of the court. That's going from the alphabet to putting together paragraphs and papers, an analogy that I use all the time when developing any sort of skill. So these things that I'm saying is universal. You can apply that to absolutely anything. How creative can you be? Another thing that I realized with this greater personality and observing my own thoughts with so much rigor, intensity, because at the end of the day, I know that I gotta live and die with myself, and the people that get added on to my life, family, relationships, friends, and everything, that they are an extension of me, but they're not me. It's just an extension of myself. But understanding who I am as a person, within the last 4 years has been the most important thing. And if I didn't come to that understanding, I would have never created Purpose Served. And Purpose Served was created through an extension of somebody else, Sean Mills, Pure Passion Sports, which he influenced me and showed me this vision of Purpose Served. when my life was straight up basketball. Um, I realized that the greater personality within myself personally, in my thoughts, talks to me in the form of you. Not I, but you. Um, Sometimes it can be overbearing, where you should and you have to, you this and that. But through me practicing mindfulness, shout out to Grace, who was also on this podcast. I worked with her for a good 2.5 years on getting my mind right, and it helped tremendously. And through that, my journaling got more and more intricate. It got more and more deliberate. And unconsciously, my greater personality was trying to show me where I was headed and where I was supposed to be going due to the nature of who I am at the most core of myself. No facades, no faking it. Super authentic. Super unique. And I had to listen. I couldn't be disobedient in a sense. And I started understanding patterns. I started understanding life on a greater scale. Once I started really adapting this greater personality within myself and integrate it wholeheartedly within myself and have my greater personality decide my actions and what I do and what I say. You can say that my greater personality is speaking right now. You know, it sounds crazy, but yeah. It opened my eyes to the world. It made me be more observant to the things that's going on around me and within me simultaneously. No separation from the two. What's going on in here, what's going on in here, and what I'm experiencing out here. They all got to be integrated within me, or there's going to be disruptions in my life. And I won't be able to handle the inevitable bumps in the roads and the detours, which your greater personality will, in a sense, warn you about. Certain dangers. We are constantly, if you subtly listen to yourself, you are being given so much information based off of where your eyes land, based off of what your ears hear, based off of what you smell, based off of what you taste, based off of what you see, if I haven't said that already, based off of what you touch. They give off so much information that sometimes it can be overstimulating and overwhelming and too much to handle. So these things have to be gradually integrated. But through you writing things down, you can start to recognize this stuff. And not only recognize it or write it down and you see it, you have to act it out. Because if you don't act it out, it's useless. You're not going to see no real transformation. You're not going to see no real change. And a lot of us are trying to transcend the situations that we're in, the environments that we've been placed in. And a decent amount of us, the environments that we've been placed in, it's out of our control. We don't really dictate the family that we're born into and the life that we're born into. And a lot of people have it super difficult, and I'm so blessed to be in a situation that I'm in right now and learn from my previous mistakes and every single day try to grow the best way that I possibly can. Not easy. I'll tell you what's easy. Getting high as hell and drunk as hell and forgetting that personality, that greater personality is communicating to me to set the tall task and going up that mountain to reach that summit. It's easier to stay down because you know it. It's comfortable and it's so much easier to loathe in your doubt. It's so easy to pity yourself. Well, if you're listening to this, that shit don't fly here. At some point, you gotta shut that down and listen to that greater personality. And when you write things down, write it down purely from the heart so you can see the real you. Don't hide from yourself. And by writing things down, that's in a way you get to glimpse who you really, really are. You don't have to show nobody. I wouldn't advise you guys to show anybody or read whatever you write to yourself to anybody. Be silent and keep doing it. Don't know where to start? Like I said, start with affirmations. But don't end with affirmations. Start with it. And then build on it. Grow with yourself. As if you're growing with another person. Because from a mental sense, from an imagination kind of a sense, your greater personality is the person that you're growing with. And that person either is integrating within you or that personality is moving further away from you. Because you don't want to listen. You don't want to listen to yourself. Don't let the I dictate who you are. That stuff that tell you like I ain't this, I ain't that. Da, 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 da. Listen to the thing that's like you are more than this. You can do better. You will be better. You'll be the best. The best you can possibly be. And by starting to write things down, in the sense that you serving your purpose, that's taking action towards a goal. If your goal is to start writing things down, that's serving that. Something practical that I gave you guys that you can use to start if you don't know where to start. You don't know what to do. Do that. And list 3 things that you can do to make sure that these affirmations become lived and not dead and unfulfilled. That's my challenge for you guys. Until next time, serve your purpose. And last but not least,